bidding wars. Extreme competition to buy a house. That's the current status of the housing economy here in the United States of America in the middle of 2021. Now, will that change? No one knows the future. That's the answer. There is some thought process that in a year or two, as we kind of get over this pandemic and supply chains open up and lumber and other materials are more readily available because the workforce is back to 100% and the global supply chains are shipping freely. And with that increase of supply, with the increase of workers out in the workforce, because unemployment benefits will kind of end at the end of the summer and the pandemic is kind of over, at least in the United States of America, or appears to be. The general philosophy is the housing market may not crash, but the rate of increase will certainly slow. Materials will, again, become more available, and so things will kind of even out. However, no one knows. I know a couple of years ago when we had got out of the bottom of the 2006 recession, somewhere around 2015 or so, people kept saying it's going to tank again, and it just shot right up for about the last 5-6 years. But what is my opinion and what's my current philosophy? Because I'm kind of in the market for a house here in 2021. What's my opinion and what's my philosophy about possibly buying a house? Number one is, if you buy below your means, it shouldn't matter if the housing market is up or down. If you have your 6 to 12 month emergency fund after you put it down, after you put down a down payment and after you would possibly even pay cash, then if you have your emergency fund, if you have a source of income, and if you buy below your means, even if there was some type of recession, you should be able to still get out of it, even if you took a loss and you needed to sell. I think the problem, when I bought my first property in my early 20s, I really didn't know much about finances or real estate and or managing a budget. So, and then there was a great recession a few years after I had bought my home. So obviously, once you go through life and you experience the ups and downs, you can hopefully prepare a little bit more, but you can never 100% prepare for everything in life. I mean, the coronavirus, if anything, taught us that a little bit. But my general advice is buy below your means, buy in an area that you want to live. And if you can find something below your means in the area you want to live, then consider it. If you can't, consider renting, continuing to rent, consider maybe being a nomad, consider, some people still live at home, consider all options, and what the price is to pay for those options. Obviously, there is a little anxiety to keep waiting because you're not sure if the housing market will keep going up. And that's scary because there's a fear that you'll be priced out of the market. That eventually houses will get so high that, they're not going to be attainable. Now, I have a hard time believing that, because if the masses in society can't purchase a house, then, it's like, then everything stops, not just housing, because housing is a huge part of the economy. And certainly, too, look, when interest rates go up beyond the supply chain, when interest rates go up, because right now they've been artificially low, when interest rates go up, housing should slow a little bit. They dropped the interest rates in America to 0% pretty much, and then the banks tack on a couple percent to make a little bit of money off the loan. Average mortgage right now is about 3%, maybe 4%, and sometimes 2%, depending on if you get a shorter loan. So that interest rate is historically low, all-time low. And they did that to keep the economy going during the coronavirus. So as we get past the coronavirus, the Federal Reserve will higher the interest rate to tamper inflation and to slow down the rate of increase. And that will slow the housing prices on average. I mean, there's no guarantee. And, sometimes I say to myself, well, why didn't they do that during the 2006, 2007 recession when my house lost equity for about 4 years straight and I was underwater for about 5 years? You know, and I remember that famous scene on CNBC where Jim Cramer was like, the Federal Reserve has to lower the interest rate. And, you know, they took a long time. So supposedly now the philosophy last year with the coronavirus was the Federal Reserve and the government learned the lesson. So they'll never let another major catastrophe like that happen again, at least not without lowering the interest rate or pumping stimulus into the economy, because they don't, you know, it's just like we've never experienced another Great Depression. You know, in the 1930s in America, there was bread lines. I mean, there was mass destitute. People would wait at the bottom of the Golden Gate Bridge in California, wait for people to die so they could take their job. The only jobs were government jobs, building state parks, bridges, and roads, because they were trying to restart the economy. They were creating work. And so we've never seen nothing at that scale. The Great Recession in 2006 and 7 or so, you know, we certainly saw a lot of people laid off, a lot of people lose their homes, but there wasn't mass destitution to a certain degree how it was in the 1930s. So it seems like progressively, unless there's this major unforeseen nuclear bomb or something, or cyber attack that shuts down the entire country, beyond something major, it's like the government, even though there may be a recession, the government is not going to allow this mass destitution because it's in no one's interest, you know, unless there's just some type of crazy thing behind the scenes. So, because remember, most modern governments have the ability to lower the interest rate, to print money, and that's what they did during the coronavirus, and that's why house prices are inflated, and they can do whatever they want. They can say now you're going to get a $100,000 tax credit to buy a home. You know, they can do whatever they want. You know, it's their game. So, you know, you have to remember that. And look, it's better that than us all be farmers and us be back in the 1930s. So I'm not going to say the game is always rigged or wrong, but it is what it is, you know. So, you know, again, look, bottom line is buy below your means. Don't rush to buy. Buy in an area you want to live. If you're single with no kids, you don't have to rush. But, you know, life is passing us by every day. The average human lives about 80 years. You're not going to take any money with you. Certainly, if you have children, you want to leave them something, if you can. But certainly, you want to enjoy your life. You know, if buying a house makes your life better quality and it's below your means, then, you know, it is what it is. But if it doesn't, and you don't want to buy a house or you can't afford it, then just try to figure out, again, if you can find a cheaper rent, if you can nomad or whatever you can do to make buy. Not easy, I know, especially for some people caught in a bad place in life. I understand. So, you know, either way, I figured I'd make a video about, you know, the state of housing, the state of the union, the state, and some of the brief history, you know, I'm making in this 10-minute video, some of the history of America and how we've handled recessions and how a pandemic actually caused a boom. More renovations, more house selling, more stimulus, lower interest rates. You know, the coronavirus was one of the biggest economic booms in generations. You know, houses haven't appreciated this much in generations. You know, people, you know, look, they say statistically, you know, people with the surplus of cash, even though it's getting eaten up a little bit by the cost of goods, a lot of people have never been in this good a position. Now, that's hard to hear for someone in a bad position. I understand that too. So, but I'm just trying to share with you guys in a video, in about a 10-minute video about what's going on, what I feel, what I see in the market, because I've been in the housing market. Even today I called someone up and they were like, it was a cheap piece of land that you could put a mobile home or something on. But so I called about it because I said, that's rare. It had all the utilities there. And they said, no, he goes, there's already like 4 bids on it. You know, so, you know, again, when the interest rates go up, the stock market tends to go down, house prices tend to go down. And right now, interest rates have been artificially low, historically low. When the level of stimulus wears out and people go back to work and supply chains open up, there will be a level of normalization. Now, how will it be? Can something else happen? Again, no one knows. No one knows the future. So all you can do is live in the present, manage your own budget, try to make the best decision you can, and live your life, because each day that goes by, you'll never get back, and you're closer to death. So figure out what works for you. Hopefully this video helped you. Broadcasting live from the car I've been living out of. I've been living out of a hotel also, though, for 2 weeks, and thinking about what I'm going to do this summer. Bottom line is, even if your video isn't perfect, make it. Why? Because every time you make a video, you take someone's spot who didn't make a video. Should you try to take someone's spot? No, but should you try to show up so you make the most of your time in your life and your ability to make something, create something? Yeah, make the most of it. Don't apologize for showing up. Don't apologize for showing up. And if you agree with that, click that thumbs up, click the blue join button. You want to support the channel. There's no better marriage, where you can be part of the channel anytime you want, and you can also leave anytime you want. There's no better marriage. So what I can tell you is this. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.